English translation. 393rd contact, Saturday, 2nd July 2005, 16:33 hours.
Oh, another pleasant surprise. Be warmly greeted, everyone, and welcome to my home. You really surprised me, especially because Bernadette and I were working through the correction work of the 325th contact report of 12th April 2002 at noon today, when the five of you, together with Ptah and Quetzal, were visiting me here. But where is Ptah? Has he already left again? He told me that he wanted to come here at 16 hours. Then he let me know that he would be a little late. But now it is already after 16:30 hours. But I am very happy that you all came here. Once again, I offer you a warm welcome.
Edward, Billy, it is a great pleasure for me to see you well. Come.
Come to my arms too, my friend.
I will join Minara and Taljda if I may. What question? That is silly of me.
I do not want to stand back either.
Although neither of us is from the other side of the river, as you are accustomed to expressing yourself, we men too can cultivate our custom. Be greeted.
Really, somehow I feel solemn because your greeting, well, it is so loving and connecting. It is a little unusual for me because it is not so common in our Western world, but it is a very big joy, thank you. But where is Ptah? Is he still coming or not?
He will be here in a short time. On our part, we just wanted to greet you and thank you for all the work you do. Later, we would like to spend some time with you in private. It is always a great pleasure for us to read and study your and the group members' writings and books. Furthermore, we are coming to you today because Ptah has specifically asked us to do so in regard to the correction work in connection with our presence on the 12th of April 2002, which is mentioned in the contact talk. Actually, the five of us wanted to visit you last weekend, but Ptah asked us to come as a surprise only today in connection with the correction work.
Then Ptah gives you my and the group members' works to read. I did not know that.
That is not quite right, Edward, dear friend. Your writings and books are not only read and studied by the few of us who know the German language, but also by very many other people on Era, on Seder, Nisan, Deron, and Druan.
But surely they do not speak German, do they?
No, of course not. Your and the group members' writings and books will be translated into our languages and distributed through the public information and teaching medium. Thus, everything can be read and studied by everyone on our homeworlds.
This is not a joke.
It is no joke.
Of course not.
You should not be surprised, because all our home worlds belong to the Pleuran Federation.
And there are many other peoples who are not descended from the Nocademian Hanok lineage. In fact, your writings and books are taught, read, and studied by all Federation peoples.
You guys are really joking.
It does not please us to joke about these things.
Almost unbelievable, the dog goes crazy in the pan. I must be known as a colorful dog.
I am familiar with that phrase. Yes, you are known throughout the Federation.
That is really awesome, but I'm not going to kid myself about this.
That would not suit your nature either. But now Ptah has just announced himself on my device here. He will be here shortly. We will leave now and come back at a later hour to discuss some purely personal matters with you. So we do not want to say goodbye, but simply go our separate ways to still be able to move around the center's grounds.
It will be my pleasure, so I will see you later when... Ah, da. Oh, another surprise. You are very welcome. And already they are all gone. Who is the young lady, my friend? Can you understand me, girl?
The child does not understand Swiss German, but she has learned German, and only because she wants to talk to you. She is from Era, and her name is Kladena Ikarina. The first name means she who always finds the truth, and the second name means the Immaculate. She likes to be called by her second name, Ikarina. So if you speak German...
Ikarina, it is a great pleasure to meet you. You are very welcome.
Thank you. I too greet you, and the joy is also mine.
With your permission, I would like to talk to you a little, because I have some very personal questions for you.
Certainly you can, only, usually our conversations we have here are later written down by me when I receive them transmitted. So the question now is whether you want everything to be written down or not. You have to decide that yourself.
Then I would like to ask you not to write down our conversation, because really everything is private.
Of course, your wish will be granted. But how come, Ikarina, that you could come here with Ptah?
Ikarina is the girl, dear friend, who coined the term silent revolution of the truth for you and your group mission. What I did not tell you at an earlier time is that there was a prize for the appropriate term, which was to be allowed to visit you, but the condition was to become proficient in the German language. Ikarina has fulfilled this condition, and so she is now sitting in front of you.
It is a very great honor for me. What can I call you?
Whatever you like, Princess.
Oh, that honor. Then I will call you Billy, if that is acceptable for you.
Of course, there is no question about it.
May I present my concerns then? Ta's presence would suit me very well, because I would like to talk to him later about our conversation. May I record everything?
Of course you can. If something should be answered unclearly by me, then I ask you to simply ask, so that I can deal with the whole thing more comprehensively.
Thanks! Then I would like to begin.
Thank you for your confidence. I am very honored to be able to respond to your concerns and give you advice, but this will take some time. I would like to start with this.
Thank you very much for your profound explanations, which I have understood comprehensively and have also recorded here with my device. Of course, I could have put my questions directly to Ta, but according to his advice, I wanted to come to you. And with that, he advised me well, because when I now sit opposite you and see you with my own eyes and watch you while I was presenting my concerns, and how you were able to answer everything so comprehensively and in such detail, I now understand very well why he advised me to do so. You awaken a very good feeling in me, and I want to keep this in my memory. If I am not allowed to visit you again, then I will remember you as a dear and kind father and high advisor.
Thank you very much, but I must honestly confess that I am astonished at your language. For when I look at earthly girls your age in terms of linguistic expression, I am ashamed to admit that contrary to yours, their language is rather childish. I find your eloquence phenomenal.
Oh, that is a great honor. Thank you.
On the contrary, the honor is with me, which you give me with your trust. But now the time has come, so I would like to ask you, Ptah, if you have any new important predictions for the next 8 days? Manara, Lumia, Solar, Taljda, and Elena also want to come again.
That will be when Ikarina and I are already gone. But listen to what predictions there are to explain. In the coming days, from Europe to the Far East, there will again be exceptional storms in the form of heavy thunderstorms, which will cause a lot of damage and will also claim human lives again. Then on Monday, the 4th of July, it will be revealed that an American probe called Deep Impact, which has been on its way for a long time, will be steered close to Comet Tempel 1 in order to bring a heavy projectile to bear on it, which should lead to scientific findings. I can say that the experiment will be a complete success and that the heavy projectile will hit the comet, which is about 15 kilometers long and about 5 kilometers wide, at a speed of almost 40,000 kilometers per hour and produce a large explosion. This will create a crater with a diameter of around 200 meters and also hurl a lot of surface material of the comet into space.
Then this would be the beginning of terrestrial technology to smash comets and asteroids and meteors that could be dangerous to the Earth via atomic attack on space projectiles in such a form that they become harmless to Earth. Such plans had been in the minds of Earth scientists for a long time.
That is correct. However, such attacks on comets, asteroids, and meteors can only be useful if they are discovered early enough and necessary projectiles and probes, etc., are already provided to bring them to use when needed. Therefore, if no preventive measures are taken in this respect, then it cannot be avoided that the Earth will be hit by heavy space projectiles, because such wild satellites, space rocks, are drifting through the solar system, which could become dangerous for the Earth, of which several are in transit, as various calculations and future projections have shown.
Thank you for your explanations.
I am not finished with these, because there are two very unpleasant things to report. Namely, that in the south of the Pacific Ocean, a huge hurricane is approaching again, which will move northwards and cause much suffering and numerous deaths, and cause great destruction. Then, on the 7th of July, a quadruple attack by the Al-Qaeda terrorist network will take place in England, in London, with a bus destroyed by a bombing, and the underground also suffering heavy damage from 3 other bombings. There will also be a very large number of human lives as well as hundreds of injured to lament.
It must happen. How I see it, the whole thing is seen as an act of revenge against the British in relation to the pact with the US and the deployment of British military forces in Iraq. But this act of terrorism will not be the only one, because all the states that make pacts with the US, or even have friendship with the US, will be hit by international terrorism. It is the fault of the USA, which is addicted to world domination, that international terrorism is spreading, not least because the President of the USA, George W. Bush, sees himself as a Christian, God's messenger, God's avenger, God's representative, and God's angel of peace, bringing death, war, ruin, and destruction to the earth. And as he belongs to a Christian sect, terrorism generally extends to Christianity, as it does to Judaism. Thus, through the extreme international terrorism, and especially that which emanates from the militant Islamic terror fanatics, all Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, and Jews in general are threatened as believers without distinction and selected as terrorist targets. Christians and Jews in particular are, for the sake of their faith alone, as I call it, nothing more than game that has been released for shooting, as are all those Muslim women and men and other believers who are in friendship, sympathy, or in a pact with the USA. When people who do not sympathize with the USA are also murdered in terrorist acts, then this is accepted, regardless of whether the victims are women, children, young people, or men. Thus, international terrorism will continue to grow and worsen, in stark contrast to the crazy, of lowly intelligentum and feeble-minded speeches of loud-mouthed leading politicians who will pretend, as always, that they are not intimidated and that they will take new and better anti-terrorism measures to prevent terrorist attacks. The truth is, however, that their loudmouths are not able to do so because terrorism has long since become too much for them. Moreover, they are of too low intelligentum to realize that the way to end global terrorism is not by waging senseless wars, by capturing, imprisoning, and torturing terrorists, and even murdering them. Even if various states cooperate in this respect, this does not bring success, but only increases the hatred and vengeance of terrorists, which increasingly leads to innocent people from the populations being indiscriminately murdered by terrorist attacks. So exactly the opposite of what should be achieved is being achieved, because the terrorists, who cannot get close to the real leaders of the states, because they are too well protected by their military and bodyguards, are thus sticking to the innocent population. And when tens, hundreds or thousands of innocent people are hit by disaster and death, the government leaders make big-mouthed, lowly intelligent and primitive speeches, such as that everything is inhumane and contemptuous of humanity, and must be condemned, and that there is great compassion and sadness for those affected and for the victims. The truth of the matter is, however, that these loudmouths feel neither compassion nor grief for the victims, but only hypocrisy in order to appear before the people, most of whom are of low intelligentum enough to take the cruel hypocrisy and mendacious words of the state officials at face value and thus as the truth. If these are observed in their actions and in their slimy speeches, then one really becomes sick, because their hypocrisy spreads a foul stench. The responsible state powers and politicians are far too lowly intelligent to finally recognize what could finally stop terrorism, namely that the USA is withdrawing from all countries of the world to its country, giving up its world domination airs and its world police mania, and its anti-terrorism behavior, and leaving the world and the religions alone, and sparing them their sectarian madness.
Actually, these are the facts I wanted to mention, but my words would certainly not have been as well chosen as yours. To this, I want to say the following. U.S. America is the real world enemy for a real peace. And only then, when the USA withdraws from all states of the earth and does not interfere in any dealings of any countries anymore, and finally creates order and a real justice and humanity in its own country, then earthly humankind has a real chance to work towards real peace. For this, however, it is necessary that the teaching of the creational laws and recommendations be spread and taught throughout the earth, so that the humanity may begin to live their lives in a creational, law-based manner. Connected with this, however, is also the necessity that, on the one hand, the scepter may no longer be wielded by those in power of the state, but that only the entirety of humanity may determine, and that this must be done to the best of their knowledge and conscience, and within the framework of the creational laws and recommendations, which must be taught through education and later by authoritative pedagogical powers through a determination of law.
Your words in the earth human's ear.
I think that says it all. So farewell, dear friend, for we must go now. Sachlomia.
Goodbye, my dear friend. Sachlomi.
Billy, it was an unusual pleasure to meet you and receive your advice. So I want to say now that I will remember you deeply. We may never see each other again, but rest assured that my memory of you will never be erased. I also wish you farewell. Goodbye, Billy. Good, kind father.
I am honored by your words, Ikarina. Thank you. My wish is that you will always be well and that the joy will never leave you. It was really a great honor for me to meet you. Goodbye, Princess.